Kansas City Chiefs are champions of Super Bowl 54.
These guys are hungry for more. They are eager to win another one. They're not satisfied with that one title. They want more. They want to build a dynasty here.
He lines it up. The kick is long enough. It is good!
Every conversation since the parade has been run it back and do it again.
Offense is historic. The defense has been playing at the top of their game, and when the moment is biggest, this group collectively plays their best. We are 45 minutes from kickoff. You have waited all week for this very moment. Well, it is finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. It's Raider Week. I don't care if they're in Las Vegas, Oakland, LA, wherever. This game always means just a little bit more.
Man, Raider Week is so big in the kingdom. We all are born and raised here in Kansas City to have a little bit of edge, a little bit of hatred for that silver and black. And you'll see it displayed here on the field at Arrowhead Stadium.
Definitely. Can't wait for this game here today. The hated Raiders, see what we can do against them here today at Arrowhead Stadium. But let's talk about what this team has done already, Shawn, the first 4 weeks of the season. Accepting the challenge of the 2020 season and accepting the challenge of being the defending Super Bowl champions. It's not easy. It's one thing to win a title, but it's another to come into the next season and still be that team to beat, to earn that respect. 4-0 here through the first quarter of the year. That can't be overlooked.
Well, Coach Reed does a perfect job of setting an environment to listen, to learn. And when you talk about the first quarter of the season, 16 games are split into 4-game segments, all 4 quarters. After the first quarter, 4-0, wipe it clean. Now we begin the second quarter, and we begin it against the Oakland Raiders. Every team, every organization in the NFL, organizations are broken down into 3 different divisions. You have bad organizations, you have good organizations, and great. Bad organizations win or lose. Good organizations win or they learn each week. But great organizations, they win and they learn. And what we've done over the first 4 weeks of the season, we have found a way to win, and we've learned and became better and better each week.
Yeah, so proud of this group coming out. Huge expectations and living up to those through the first 4 weeks of the season. They're still clearly very hungry for more, and you can see that through this first quarter of the year. All right, Shawn, let's take a quick look at the inactives for today before we dive into our show. For the Chiefs, no real surprises, and the great news is Chris Jones, active here today. Of course, Chris was so good against the Ravens a few weeks ago, tweaked his groin, missed last week's game against the Patriots, but he's active here today. Huge boost for that defensive line.
One thing Chris Jones is underrated for across the league is his range of his hands. He gets so many batted balls, especially on key second and third down situations. It allows your coverage to play true coverage, play the middle, play the deep, and he takes away a lot of that running back game over the middle just by swatting the ball back down and getting in the viewpoint in the passing lanes of the quarterback.
Plus just the energy of having Chris Jones back down on the field. Love having him back in this mix. Huge addition to this defense. And looking at the Raiders inactives coming in, they had 19 guys on their injury report this week, really banged up. They got a few guys back here today. So the first one's Trent Brown. He's questionable coming in with a calf injury. Highest paid offensive tackle in NFL history, Trent Brown is. Dealt with some injuries in his career. Only played 3 snaps this season, but he's going to play here today. Big addition on the offensive line. Huge part of Josh Jacobs' success, and we'll talk about that a bit later. Then also Henry Ruggs, the electric speed wide receiver, Henry Ruggs, 12th overall pick in the draft. He's active here for them. 2 big additions to their offense.
Yeah, all these guys are made to try to beat the Chiefs. Everybody drafted a way to try to beat our defense, beat our offense. And what you've seen is some teams, when they try to battle out of almost an inexistence, no one has even noticed the Raiders in years to come, they try to go out during training camp. They beat each other up. They try to build a environment of being tough and gritty. And what you've seen in the first 4 weeks of the season, a lot of soft tissue injury, that injury list got 19 guys on the injury list only in the 4th week of the season. Man, it's a mass unit out there, but they're getting healthy, and we're going to see their best shot here at Arrowhead.
Now, one guy they will not have today is defensive tackle Malik Collins, and that's significant because Maurice Hurst already isn't playing. He's on the COVID-19 list. He didn't make the trip. Maurice Hurst was the 4th highest graded interior rusher in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus this season. He's not playing, and no Malik Collins either. They're pretty thin at defensive tackle.
Yeah, and Gunther's defense, that's a big part of being able to stop the run using your 2 defensive tackles to muck up that A and B gap run game. I see some running lanes might be there for our guy Clyde Edwards-Helaire today.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Now you can see warm-ups taking place on the field here at Arrowhead. And Shawn, it's warm today, but we're going to have football weather here pretty soon. It'll get a bit chilly, and if you want to have a heated jacket, some heated gloves, a heated vest, Orworo is the official heated apparel partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. Check them out at orworowear.com. That's ORORO-wear.com. They have some pretty good stuff there to take care of you here this winter. All right, Shawn, so let's talk a bit about this Chiefs defense. Incredible last week. I mean, 4 takeaways. I don't care who's at quarterback for the Patriots. Jarrett Stidham, Brian Hoyer, Cam Newton, whoever. Taking the ball away 4 times is impressive. They kept the team in the game throughout. And it's really part of a larger trend for this team. Since week 11 of last season, so that's when the winning streak began. It was against the Chargers in Mexico City. The Chiefs are allowing 16.5 points per game. That's the best scoring defense in the NFL in that stretch. That's a 13-game sample. That's a huge sample, and the Chiefs are the best defense in the NFL in that stretch. They don't get that credit nationally, but they are. Also, 21 takeaways in that time, second most in the NFL. So, Shawn, you've watched this group grow, and you also have the experience of being on the field as a defensive football player in the NFL. What have you noticed from this group over that stretch, particularly carrying it over from last season to this season?
I see overall there's a commitment, there's a understanding, there's the knowledge and wisdom that Coach Spagnuolo has brought to Kansas City, and he's opened up the book. He allowed the guys to absorb through osmosis, through studying, through training camp, and he told, when he got here to Kansas City, don't grade us, don't hold us accountable to the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Let the guys grow together, let them get comfortable, let me as a coordinator see the guys go and work, and we're going to create something. We're going to develop something very special. And ever since that week 10 mark of last year, you've seen one of the best, if not the best, defense, because the back end trusts the front end, the front end trusts Coach Spag's technique, and the linebackers are doing what they do. They're being quarterbacks of the defense, getting guys lined up, set up to take away what the opponent's offense does best and get to the quarterback, right? Stop the run, hit the quarterback, create turnovers, get off the field on third down. They're checking all those boxes right now at a high rate. Chiefs defense is one of the best in the league this year.
So we talked about how this team has accepted the challenge of this season. I think the defense is a great example of that, because when they started playing well at the end of last year, it kind of felt like a bonus. But coming into this year, you have expectations all of a sudden. This defense is supposed to be pretty good, and to do it right out of week 1, to be right now they're the second scoring defense in the NFL this season alone, to start that way in week 1 seamlessly, to carry those expectations over into this year, that's pretty impressive.
Especially when you have Pat Mahomes' offense on the other side. You know he's going to try to put up 30, 40 points. You know he's always has his explosive offense. And sometimes that gives the defense a little bit of a feel of they can play back, play safe. They only got to hold people out the end zone. This defense has took that little brother mentality and decided, no, we want to be the big dogs here in Kansas City. We want to be the team, the phase that actually goes out and win these games. It's 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. We want to be the lead dog here in Kansas City, and you've seen this defense kind of step up ever since last season.
Yeah, love that so far, and another chance to continue that now here against these Raiders. Let's talk a bit about this Las Vegas offense and how we match up with them. It begins with Derek Carr at quarterback, and Derek Carr is interesting. Always when you're on a Chiefs show talking about Derek Carr, it's 2 different sides, really. He starts the season off really good this year. I mean, 8 touchdown passes for him, no interceptions, great completion percentage. He's fumbled a few times in some big moments, but looking at what he's done against the Chiefs in his career, he's really struggled. I mean, 2-10 in his career against the Chiefs, 13 interceptions, multiple picks in his last 3 games. He's just not been at his best against the Chiefs ever.
Man, we know that win-loss record is always tough with the quarterback because they get all the blame and they also have to take all the responsibility. But we know in 2016 he was playing on an MVP level until that late injury in the season, and he just never has really risen back up to that type of level of play. So when I look at him, he's a classic Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You never know who you're going to get. He definitely has the skill and capability of making all the throws on the field, but he also sometimes blows a couple of gaskets, makes some not as heady decisions as you would like from an all-star, all-pro quarterback, and those things have cost him in the win-loss record.
Now, he does have some weapons around him, and we'll start with Josh Jacobs at running back. I mentioned him earlier. Just outstanding rookie year last year, over 1,100 yards in the ground, averaged 4.8 yards per carry. He avoided the most tackles of any running back in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. Really, really strong season. And John Gruden wants to run the ball like it's 1998. He's come out and said that before, and Josh Jacobs is the perfect kind of running back for that system. This year, though, hasn't really been as good for Josh Jacobs. I mean, week one, he was pretty solid, but slow since then, averaging less than 4 yards a carry, hasn't had over 100 yards rushing. What do you make of Josh Jacobs this year, and how do the Chiefs make sure he doesn't get his first big game against them here today?
Man, I don't want this guy to be a flash-in-the-pan type player. Come out his rookie year, he definitely exploded. Got injured at the end of the season, and what you see with a lot of guys out of college, they're just not used to a 16 to 20-week season. Being in college is 10 games, a bowl game, and that's it. And we see guys out of college, when they're used to the wear and tear that the NFL puts on your body, sometimes they break down, especially at that running back position, because you're hit on every play. And we saw early in the season, after week one, he exploded. Weeks 2, 3, and 4 have been kind of down weeks for him. So they're going to try to unleash him. A heavy workload for Josh Jacobs against us. But I think this Chiefs defense can rise to the occasion and keep him out the end zone.
Yeah, having Mike Pennell's big in stopping that run game, getting him back a few weeks ago against the Ravens, and also having Chris Jones back in the middle of that defense is huge, trying to slow down Josh Jacobs. Now, in this passing game for Derek Carr, it's really one guy who it revolves around. That's Darren Waller at tight end. He has 29 catches this year. And just for context, if you're looking at the list of guys that have catches this season for the Raiders, it goes Darren Waller at number 1. Then number 2 and number 3, they have 29 catches combined. So Darren Waller is the guy that Derek Carr is looking for throughout this game, throughout this season. He had 16 targets against the New Orleans Saints, 12 targets against the Buffalo Bills, 40 targets this year overall. That's 5th in the NFL. Derek Carr will be looking for Darren Waller often in this game.
Well, we know that tight end position is the favorite target of all quarterbacks. A smart quarterback always knows where his tight end is, because the tight end position is the one that always is a mismatch, right? He's a little bit bigger than a safety, faster than a linebacker. No matter who you put up against the tight end position, usually that's the mismatch you want to go to. But what you've seen with the Raiders is they've used Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow, I think, is the sleeper today, because when Ruggs has been out, he's been that slot, that crafty, converting third downs, keeping the chains moving, and also been a red zone threat for him. He runs some very precise routes out of that slot, and so he's going to be the guy. I think that he's going to be the X factor, and we got to make sure we know where Hunter is at all times of the field.
National champion, right? Hunter Renfrow at Clemson? Yeah.
Clemson guy.
Yeah, we'll see what he does here today, but hoping the Chiefs can start by stopping Darren Waller, because we saw the Patriots did that a few weeks ago and really shut down this Vegas offense. So hopefully the Chiefs can keep that going here this afternoon. Now, we talked about Derek Carr's struggles against the Chiefs. That's really a trend throughout the AFC West for anyone playing against the Chiefs. And thinking about what the Chiefs have done in their last 30 games against the AFC West, they are 28-2 in those games. 28-2, absolutely phenomenal. The only 2 games they lost in that stretch, both on Thursday Night Football, both on the last play of the game. So Chiefs could very easily be undefeated in their last 30 games against the AFC West. Those 2 losses came down to the wire. The Chiefs haven't lost a Sunday divisional game since 2014. I mean, absolutely remarkable, knock on wood, but absolutely remarkable. And for more on the Chiefs' dominance over the AFC West, I caught up with Nate Burleson of Good Morning Football earlier this week. I'm joined now by Nate Burleson of Good Morning Football. And Nate, I want to ask you about the Chiefs' dominance over the AFC West over the last 5-6 years. In their last 30 games against the AFC West, they are 28-2. They're beating those teams by an average of 12 points. And their only 2 losses in that span were on Thursday Night Football on the last play of the game. So just crazy stuff for this Chiefs team against their own division. How do you explain that dominance?
Well, one, they're a good team. You know, let's give the Chiefs credit before I sit here and try to pick apart the other teams in the AFC West. They've pieced together everything that they need. You know, they have the quarterback for the future who's going to be around for a decade. They have wide receivers that are literally the perfect blend and complement to each other. They have a guy that can move the chains like Sammy Watkins. They have the splash, fast players that can go downfield like McCall Hardman and Tyreek Hill. They have the complementary receiver. Tight end, Travis Kelce's the best in the business. And then the running game is always going to be there. On the defensive side of the ball, they have guys that don't get enough credit. Tyrann Mathieu is one of my favorite players in the entire league, and Chris Jones is playing unbelievable. So that's dominance in itself. Now let's take that same dominance and how I described that squad to the inconsistencies in other teams in the AFC West trying to find the rhythm. What has been the biggest question in the AFC West? It's the one question the Chiefs don't have to answer. Who's your quarterback? I mean, even a team like the Raiders, I mean, we still question Derek Carr every year, even though he's under a long-term deal. And who knows what's going to happen over the next couple of years, because the guaranteed money has already been paid. And then you look at the Broncos, Chargers. They're still trying to figure it out. It seems like they have, but even this season alone, there's been quarterback changes within the AFC West. So for me, I feel like it's the solidification and the consistency, the group that the Chiefs have established already that is competing against the inconsistency and the inability to find your premier franchise players across the AFC West.
And if you're one of these teams, if you're the Raiders, for example, trying to be a team that breaks through, does it get to a point where just mentally it's frustrating going against the Chiefs and they seem to keep winning all these years? Is that difficult? Does that build after a while?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for decades, I'm pretty sure, teams in the AFC East felt the same way about Brady. I feel like over the last handful of years, people were saying that about the Golden State Warriors. I know that teams in the NBA were saying that about Jordan in the 90s. Now, I don't want people to hear this and say, Nate, what are you saying? Are the Chiefs going to be a dynasty? Hey, yes, they are. But keep that between me and you. I just feel like, frustration is going to set in until you're either able to keep up with who you're competing against or outdo what you're competing against. And right now, I haven't seen that in the AFC West, and I might not see that in the league. We'll see how this league finishes before I crown these guys the next great dynasty in all of sports, but it seems like they're trending in that direction.
Chiefs have won 5 straight against the Raiders, looking for 6 straight here today. Nate, appreciate your time, man.
No doubt.
All right, great stuff there from Nate. Always great catching up with him. He is awesome. And Shawn, I'm going to ask you a similar question. So if you're on these Raiders or you're on the Chargers or the Broncos and you're trying to break through and the Chiefs just find a way to beat you every single year, is that just demoralizing over time mentally?
If you don't understand this simple phrase, process over product, the process is always greater than the product. If you're going to grade yourself off of how far you've come based off of if you can beat the Chiefs or not, you're going to always go home 90% of the time feeling disappointed. You got to have some value system. You got to check some boxes. Can we run the ball? Can we move the ball? Are we getting defensively? Are we getting them off the field on third down? Offensively, are we converting third downs? You can't worry about the scoreboard. Pat Mahomes is at an all-time high of being an efficient leader. He starts almost every possession with at least 2 first downs. He eliminates turnovers in the red zone, and he leads by actions, not by words. When you're facing a quarterback like that on the other side, you can't worry about the scoreboard and wins and losses. You have to have your own set and values of what are you going to be grading yourself as far as self-evaluation is what is a good game when it comes to being a Raider.
So I'm glad you bring up Patrick Mahomes here because I'm going to talk about him a bit. He's been really good against the Raiders in his career. 4-0, 11 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Also, get this, since 2018, no player has more passes of 25 or more yards against a single opponent than Patrick Mahomes does against the Raiders. He has been really, really good against this Oakland/Las Vegas team.
Well, and the one thing that we know is that Pat Mahomes is being guarded deep to short. Everybody is trying to take away Mecole Hardman. They're trying to take away Cheetah. They're trying to take away the deep pass. And he's being humble. He's being hardworking. He's persevering through these deep down defenses, and he's taking the check downs. He's taking the first downs. He's matriculating the ball down the field, moving it, understanding the possession. The possession matters so much in the NFL. You can see the Chiefs team is going to be a all-time leader in time possession, moving the ball, no turnovers. That is what quality offense is about. It's not 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns like he did when he came out the gate. That is a arcade-type quarterback. Now he's leading a team, and he understands the difference between being championship mindset and just being a champion. And this kid is doing it at an all-time level.
And we're so fortunate to have him, aren't we? But thinking about arcade numbers, like you mentioned, we have seen arcade numbers from the Chiefs against these Raiders since Andy Reid got here in 2013. So since Reid got here 8 seasons ago, 41 big passing plays for this offense against the Raiders and 55 touchdowns. Both of those numbers are the most for any team against a single opponent in the NFL since 2013. And to me, that's the mastery of Andy Reid, because it's not just Patrick Mahomes, it's Alex Smith, it's other guys on this offense, it's other teams. He finds a way to beat divisional opponents, particularly these Raiders, and he's done it since day one.
Man, we talk about a crazy mindset as far as defensive coach Andy Reid. The crazy mindset is expecting something different to happen when you keep doing the same thing. And what the Raiders have done, they've gone man defense. They go press against your receivers. They try to challenge you at the line of scrimmage. And the one thing our receivers do very well is get off press and finish down the field. And we have very creative passing routes and philosophies that get open versus man coverage. And so if you're going to continue to just kind of be hard-headed and run the same type of defensive philosophies, you're going to get the same results.
Yeah, I'll welcome it here today. If they want to go ahead and try again, we'll see what Patrick Mahomes does in this offense. And speaking of this Raiders defense, they're kind of interesting because they've invested a lot of capital on the side of the ball lately, a lot of high draft picks, guys like Clean Farrell, Jonathan Abram, Max Crosby. But yet it hasn't really worked out so far. They're allowing 30 points per game this year. What do you make of this Raiders defense?
Man, you talk about a guy like Max Crosby. Max Crosby is he's like Jared Allen 2.0, right? He's a guy that has these great long arms, this great leverage. I think on the season so far he has 3 sacks, but only 3 tackles. He's a big play, big splash. It's either he's barbecue or mildew. You get him on his best or he almost is insignificant on the play. And that kind of defensive philosophy, always going after the sack, always going after the big play, it's opened up some wide gaps in the running game, and it's given up a lot of points. And that's why they're 30 points a game. It's hard to win and have any kind of offensive consistency when you got to throw up a 30 spot just to be in the ball game.
Yeah, and we've seen this Raiders defense, just 2 takeaways for them, 2 big plays taking the ball away for them this year. It's the second to last in the NFL. All right, Shawn, let's take a quick look around the NFL before we wrap up our show. We're going to start with Colts and Browns, and this one's interesting because both of these teams started 0-1, but they're undefeated since. Phillip Rivers playing pretty well for the Colts. The Browns hanged 50 points on the Cowboys last week. Who you got in this one?
Man, this is such an interesting game to me. You got Phillip Rivers trying to stay out of the grasp with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is one of the leaders as far as quarterback pressure, and he's trying to put his name on the docket, trying to get defensive MVP. But you got the Colts defense, #1 in points, going against this Cleveland Browns offense that is trying to eat humble pie. You don't hear Baker Mayfield and OBJ talking like they did in the past. They're letting their actions speak louder than their words.
I'm really curious to see how that game goes, and the Browns can build off that huge win over Dallas, because that's the offense we thought we'd see last year, scoring that many points. Now looking at some divisional matchups here, the Broncos-Patriots game, according to media reports, that was supposed to be tomorrow. It's looking like that will actually be next week. Then Chargers-Saints, that game is happening tomorrow night. Anthony Lynn made it official earlier this week. Justin Herbert's the guy now for the Chargers. We kind of assumed that, but it's official now. What are you looking for out of Herbert against the Saints?
Man, Tyrod Taylor has to be the most unluckiest guy in the NFL. The amount of ways he's lost his starting job, and now this season he loses it because a team doctor, punctures a lung trying to give him a numbing agent. This is amazing. But this young guy, right, Herbert has definitely come out to shoot, and he's a winner. He's a gamer. He can make all the throws. He's a tough, talented, a very tough-minded individual, and he has championship desire. So he's going to be somebody I think the Chiefs have to deal with in the not near future.
Yeah, he's looked pretty good to me. I mean, impressed. Doesn't look like the moment's too big for him. Definitely. Of course, the Chargers really aren't having a lot of success lately with him at quarterback in terms of the wins and losses, but he's looked pretty good statistically, so the Chargers might have a good one there. Now looking at Bills and Titans, this is currently scheduled for Tuesday. We saw some media reports that the Titans closed their facility today, so who knows what will happen with that. But, whether we play them on Thursday night, Sunday night, whenever we play the Bills, it's going to be a big game. So I'm curious to see how this game ends up, because that's a big showdown coming up for the Chiefs and Bills.
That's right, man. Josh Allen, another guy who's trying to put his name in the rim for MVP of the league, has had an outstanding start to the 2020 season. And another one of Coach Reed's out of his coaching tree, Sean McDermott. He's changed the atmosphere there in Buffalo. Bills Mafia is now something that has to be reckoned with week by week in the NFL. And Sean McDermott and Josh Allen are doing a great job out there in Buffalo.
Yeah, that'll be a fun matchup. Can't look past this one, obviously. Got to get the win here today, but that's a matchup I'm certainly looking forward to, and a lot of people across the NFL are looking forward to playing those Buffalo Bills who are playing good football. All right, Shawn, that's about it for us, but it's Raider Week, so I can't let you out of here without your favorite Raiders memory over the course of your career. When was that?
Man, go down to 2003 season. It's a 3rd and 9. We have our Joker package out, Monty Beisel. We got 3 linebackers, 3 D linemen, and 5 DBs. Monty Beisel and Scott Fajita and myself are all on the field. We run a crazy blitz, 0 coverage. We bring 8. They only got 7 to block us. I come free. We got a tag combination on the tight end. I slip the block. I hit Rich Gannon right in the mouth. Man, I'm envisioning it right now, man. You see, I'm starting to sweat a little bit. Man, it just takes me back. That was a great, great game. 2 sacks on for me on that game. It was an amazing atmosphere out in Oakland.
You can go play right now, couldn't you, with that energy?
It's Raider Week, baby.
All right, mine's a bit random. It's back in 2006. The Raiders are driving at the end of the game. Chiefs are up by 4 points. They get to the Chiefs' 8-yard line with like 10 seconds left. Aaron Brooks is at quarterback for the Raiders, so this was a while ago. He's looking for Randy Moss in the end zone. Misses it, though. Jared Page picks him off. The Chiefs win that game. 13-year-old me went pretty crazy. I remember that game for some reason. That was my favorite moment. I don't know, but
all right. We're not gonna bring up the moment about the about your Raider All-Pro that you liked growing up, Mr.
Okay, see, I have to defend myself here. My mom knew a guy named Terry McDaniel in college at the University of Tennessee. He went on to play for the Raiders. He got her tickets whenever the Raiders played the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and I'd go to the game. I wore Chiefs gear, though, so it all worked out. All worked out in the end.
Shout out to Miss Bonnie for sending me those pictures of Matt in his Raiders gear.
I won't show them to you, but she'll circumvent me and send them to you. So I was never in Raiders gear. Anyway, Shawn, all right, that about wraps up our show. Any final thoughts on Chiefs and Raiders here tonight?
Man, just so excited, obviously, to have fans back in the stadium. No matter what the capacity, I know the fans and the players and the staff, coaches there, we love being here in Arrowhead Stadium, continuously being able to just put another stamp on the page of how we dominate the AFC West and trying to go back-to-back and running back. We love our Chiefs. We love Coach Reed, man, Coach Spags, Coach Topes. Hopefully special teams gets back on that good, having that good feel and that good momentum. But, man, we just got to take care of business here, not overlook the Raiders. We got to send them back to Vegas, as quick as possible.
It's Raider Week. We can't wait to see what the Chiefs can do out here against these Raiders, continuing this divisional dominance over the AFC West, looking for another AFC West victory. Enjoy the game, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you afterwards.